you technically, you said you boxed Pat Patterson, but you also boxed Owen Hart. You came out of retirement at 96 to do this. How did this come to be? Because again, you haven't been in the ring for a few years now, and here you are boxing Owen Hart in 96. How does this happen?
When I retired 5 months before my son was born, I didn't want to be on the road and have a child at home and never be home. So I had agreed that we could try for a child once I knew I was quitting the business and I was going to be home. So I retired from the road in November. He was born in April. When he was a kid, I was a commentator at that point in the interviews. So he was watching me on TV when he, 2, 3, 4 years old. Oh, Daddy, then he's watching me on TV. When he got a little older, like 4 or 5 years old, Dad, am I ever going to see you wrestle? Because I had tapes here of when I was wrestling with the Hart Foundation, the Rockers, all that. And he watched that, and he was like, it's my dad, And he said, am I ever going to see you in the ring one day? I didn't want to say no, but I wasn't going to say yes. I said, maybe, And I said, maybe one day, I figured it would pass, but it didn't. And then he says, Dad, when are we going to see you in the ring? At that point, I was thinking, why? I'd been out of the ring for 6.5 years at that point, and I was 41 years old. I'd been gone for 6.5 years. I'm like, well, if I want to do something, and I wanted for him to be able to see that, to see his dad in the ring. He was 6 years old. So what I did, I asked Vince, I went to see Vince, and I said, Vince, I'd like to come back, do one more match. He says, okay, great. I said, I want to do a boxing match. Why a boxing match? I said, because there's nothing I want to do in my wrestling career. And I said, I always liked boxing. When I was young, my dad would box with all the kids around and stuff like that. I'd box the gloves with him. And I said, I always liked boxing. So I said, for me to get into the shape I want to get, I always kept in shape. Actually, when I quit the business, I dropped 10 pounds. A lot of guys go up in weight. I went down 10 pounds. And I stayed there for the 6.5 years. So when I wanted to go for the boxing match, I dropped another 20 pounds. Yeah, 20 pounds. So my real weight when I ended my career, because I cut down a little bit, my heaviest I got was 236. When I ended my career, I was at 224. And then when I stopped, I cut my weight down to 214. So when I was doing the commentating interviews, I was at 214 all that time. Then for the boxing match with Owen, I was going to cut. I didn't know how far I was going to go, what I wanted to do. But I started training 6 months before the boxing match. And I wanted the fans, when they go, because how many times when somebody comes back, they haven't seen it, it's like, oh, they remember the way you were. Then you come back and it's like, oh, wow, you're still okay, I didn't want that. No, I came back in the best shape of my life. I came back at 194 for the match. I was the same weight as when I was 19 years old. I was doing 1,500 sit-ups a day, running 5 miles a day, hitting the heavy bag every day, hitting the speed bag, jumping rope for 30 minutes. I mean, it was insane. I had a spare machine. Yeah, I was in really good shape. But that's what I wanted. So I told this, I want to do a boxing match. I want my son to see me in the rings. So actually, my first suggestion was I want to do it with Shawn Michaels, because we'd had that thing with the Rockers and all that. I said, Shawn Michaels like a good boxing match. But Vince says, well, I'm trying to build them up right now. You wanted to build him as a top guy because these guys were going to WCW. And so I said, yeah, I understand. So he said, what about Owen Hart? He says, he was the king of the ring, and the King Owen and all that. I said, yeah, and Owen is good worker. And I said, yeah, that'd be great. So that's how that boxing match came about. I wanted my son to see me in the ring one time. I said, maybe one day, well, I wanted to make it a reality. And I have a picture at the end of that match. He's in my heart. He's 6 years old. He was at ringside, first row. And at the end of the match, I had former boxing champion contender in my corner, my dad in my corner. I had my son come up in the ring. I have him in my arms. I got my dad, and Dino Clabet was a champion boxer. I've got that on a laminated frame that's immortalized, you know. So for him, and he was in the ring, he had his arm up in the air, and he was so proud. You know, that was a thrill for me.